Holy jumping troop. Okay, so welcome to the After Action Report. This is for the most recent Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report we did. It is the Avengers versus the Midnight Suns. And oh my goodness, one of the most tense games going on. I think this took us about three and a half hours to film.
Yeah.
Like long game. If you watched it, or if you didn't watch it, I highly recommend go watch it. This was a great game. I feel very confident saying I think this is one of my favorite games we filmed together.
I think at any point in the game, if you think you know how it ends, you don't.
No, and I'm gonna be straight up. You held the momentum right up to turn 6.
Yeah, but
that was the like every turn I was chasing you, right?
Yep.
And then for whatever reason, my dice just came together on turn 6, and beyond all belief, like holy jumping. I can't get over just how many crazy moments there were in this game. And I'm going to be completely honest, I was tilting hard at some of these dice rolls.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and they were frustrating a variety of times. I remember Bucky rolling 15 dice into Strange's...
for no damage?
Yeah, 11 or something, and just gaining... even though Strange was spending 2 power a turn.
Friggin' Strange gained 3 power and took no damage, something like that.
Yeah, he actually...
bonkers.
Yeah, got out of control.
Honestly, I don't even know who to name as my MVP in this game. I was going into this expecting it to be maybe Sam or Ant-Man.
Yep.
But I think Black Panther and Bucky and Steve all make excellent arguments for the MVP.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's hilarious because despite the fact, even with Sam and his amazing ability, he was probably the worst character in your roster, and he was still really good.
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say really good. He didn't really do a whole lot. He got punked by Mark, and then he failed to do anything to Ghost Rider over here as well.
Failed to do is not exactly correct, right?
He put pressure.
Yeah, he put a lot of pressure on him, and he constantly left pressure on him. The bigger thing is that, the game and the way that the points went, Ghost Rider was supposed to be a bit of a brawler. He was supposed to pull things... He was supposed to pull your plan apart with Highway to Hell and his BS moves, and then he had the Kree core, and all of a sudden he was
game plan. Yeah. And that's actually kind of interesting because I think if Ghost Rider didn't have the Kree core, he could have been a lot more of a thorn in my side.
Absolutely. If it had been Doctor Strange that was holding that Kree core the whole time,
Doctor Strange or Blade there's other people who you would have preferred to hold the Kree core. Yeah. Even Moon Knight.
Yeah, Mark can just get away and he has stealth, right?
Yeah. Sure, you'd be taking a point of damage every turn for not attacking, but he just runs away and I have a hard time catching him. But holy jumping.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that finisher right there. Oh no, actually let's talk about Bucky first.
Okay.
Because I think we spent about 15 minutes going into round 6, and you were very adamant. It's Bucky just walks over, punks Ghost Rider, and I'm like, all he got is a 4 dice attack. Maybe it rapid fires, maybe it doesn't, and I had to deal 3 points of damage to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it's my only play. Let's see what happens. And friggin' Bucky just turns around and just rips out, 5 damage?
Yeah. Pop. Yeah,
pop. And it just rips out the damage, and he was able to get close enough to actually grab the thing. Because you even measured that in advance. Yeah. It's this is what you do. And oh my goodness, that was.
And then the other side to that, of course, is okay, well, could you hold some other points? Well, yeah. Black Panther has a bunch of abilities to hold points. I don't think I'm taking down Angry Steve. We have a lot of.
You came close.
I did.
You came close,
but it did. I shouldn't have come close. I should have actually fired him off in this direction, but I was trying to push him over, thinking he was going to get killed, and I need to do a little math harder.
And here's the funny thing about that. When you pushed him over here, I was like, oh, all right. And then I was reading the explosive part of Black Panther's card. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh my goodness! I just pushed him right on the back.
Yeah.
It's out of activation move because I was thinking it was only enemy characters, but the text just says other characters within range too, and it's
yep. Well, that makes sense. Black Panther's thing, he blasts out kinetic energy around him, right?
So I mean, we basically just ragdolled Steve in this last turn.
Just flung him around a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. He likes it.
It's fine. It's all good. I mean, the fact that Iron Fist was on 1 health remaining was huge for me, because that allowed me to just get rid of an activation for you.
Yep.
And the fact that Black Panther really had a very unimpressive final Night of the Dampier roll into Black Panther. Because I can't remember, I think I moved some tokens. I don't know if he had damage on. No, he didn't, because you dazed him last time. So he was always going to be a tough sell to take out. But wow. I got to say, I think Strange was definitely one of your strongest pieces on this game.
Funny, because when I think about Strange and think about what he did, he mostly just stood on this wing precariously, hoping not to fall off. And he did a great job at that.
He kept giving defense dice to Ghost Rider. He healed up Ghost Rider, what, 3 times?
Yes. Now, hilariously, I feel like where I lost this game was moving Ghost Rider away from him, because that's where everything started to be like, oh my god, I'm going to win. Wait. I've given Leland the chance to take this down.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. I think at the time, tactically, it was absolutely the right move.
100%.
That's what you do. You protect your assets.
Yep.
And yeah, it just... I don't know what to say. Like, this game pivoted so many times.
Absolutely.
Which is just absolutely bonkers. I gotta say, like, even though I had my fair share of whiffed dice, I feel that, like, I kind of mocked Sam in this game for what he was doing, but you're right. He was putting pressure on every single turn. Ant-Man putting pressure on every single turn.
Actually, I'm going to also say a character that's hiding in the rough here, Punisher, and his ability to move up and blow something up was constantly on my mind, because there was all these bodegas and size 3 terrain on the table. That,
well, it's not even size 3. I could have blown this up for damage as well,
absolutely,
right?
But I wanted to go hide behind here, and I'm like, no, that's a bomb. Everything's a bomb.
Everything's a bomb. So, Punisher just brought the IEDs to the game today.
So, okay, I need to talk about something that's a little frustrating.
Sure.
The Quinjet.
Yeah. You know what? I think let's touch on it a little bit here, but I feel like this actually deserves a larger discussion in the grand scheme of things as well, because I think this is actually a discussion that's very important to the MCP community as well.
Yeah.
Because I think we discovered some very challenging aspects of the Quinjet in this game.
Yeah.
Namely, this is kind of a dead zone. These are kind of dead zones. To an extent, these are dead zones here as well. So it becomes a challenge.
And it becomes really hard to keep accurate movement going on with it.
How many times did we have to replace Strange here, right? He kept sliding off.
He only fell off once, so that's the big bonus.
But we nudged him a bunch of times. Like, anytime we nudge this, like, it nudged the model on top of it as well.
And the table moved slightly, so, Strange is going to make another fall.
Like, I'm pretty sure this has been just misplaced a little bit as well.
It's supposed to be aligned with this.
Yeah.
So, like, And this cockpit, like, is almost unnavigable.
It's effectively a dead zone, right?
Yeah,
like, you put a model on there. See? So, yeah, it is I love the piece. I think it's absolutely a great piece. I think if you're going to use it, though, off-center.
Yes.
I don't think you
making it be in the center area of objectives is probably the wrong place. On the other hand, do you really need terrain that's hiding off to the side? Is that a big deal, especially when it's stuff that you can't?
Well, that's the problem. If you hide it off to the side, it's just decorative.
Yes.
Right.
So
at that point,
I feel like there's part of me that wants to have like a little piece of sticky tack or whatever to hold it to it, but of course that kind of wrecks the immersion of the game.
Just something, because here's the thing. I think as a piece of terrain, it's too good not to use.
I agree.
Right? It looks great on the table.
And as a size 4, size 5 piece of terrain where it takes up so much space, it needs to reward that real estate. But yeah.
And I think, so here's kind of the interesting bit. I think part of what hurt its use in this game was the fact that we had the E-shaped, objectives, right? So we had that cross pattern. So there was nowhere it could go really where it would be both impactful but not interfering with the objectives.
Absolutely.
Now imagine this on a B, right? Where it's just the 4 corners, or a D, where it's just the 4 corners.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have the Quinjet like right there.
Yeah. So each of the different points has a different kind of way of seeing stuff, but yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. It means that you actually have very limited lines of sight to all the other points, right? And it becomes a very interesting piece to work around.
And then someone like Bucky sitting up here is all of a sudden like, oh yeah, I'm gonna shoot you over here. I'm gonna shoot you over here. I'm gonna shoot you over here.
Yeah.
Like, there's nowhere you can really be.
It becomes a lot more interesting.
Yes.
And it becomes a piece that you really need to kind of play around and work around. So actually, yeah, Troop, are you willing to sit down with me one day and we'll actually do a proper review of the Quinjet and its use? Because I think it actually warrants a proper discussion.
And honestly, I think like it's not that it shouldn't be used. It's that you just need to talk with your opponent beforehand, and you need to have a proper discussion about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I think that is absolutely it. Because I think it's too good of a piece not to use.
Yeah.
Frustrations and all. I realize in a competitive environment, like you want to remove as much sort of like wild cards as possible, but I also think a piece like this kind of pushes you competitively a little bit further because it is a more interesting piece to work with. But no, I think that was absolutely worth bringing up. I think that's a good point, and I look forward to having a little bit more of an in-depth discussion about. I would say an in-depth discussion, like we can talk about terrain just in general.
Absolutely.
Because I think terrain has a very interesting place in this game.
We had some interesting conversations during this game, and yeah, there's more to talk about.
Yeah, so you know what, you guys can maybe look forward to that as a video in the next little bit. Like we'll try and figure out some time to do that. Okay, so I've kind of shied away from what my usual question is. How'd you feel about your squad?
So I have to admit, we rolled it up. I decided I really wanted to play Blade. One of the guys that was in the store not so long ago was really jiving with Blade Moon Knight, and he infected me with his poison. And I love Blade, and I love Bump in the Night. I especially love Bump in the Night with Ghost Rider. So that was the start of my list. And then for a long time, it was definitely a Deal with the Devil list where I was going to be like killing Wong and Bullseye, and 20 threat just meant that, okay, that fits perfect, but I wanted to do a really good Siege of Darkness, and I really feel Siege of Darkness is that good of a card that I felt like I needed to have a full faction of Midnight Suns.
Siege of Darkness is one of those, it's a momentum shifting card.
It is.
If it pops off the way you need it to, that can be game for you, right? Like that can really do well for you. But at the same time, the opposite is true, and you almost had a very uneventful Siege of Darkness.
Yes.
Blade got lucky and was able to take that last point of damage off Steve and get the Creek Core back, putting momentum back in your hand, and I was chasing you the entire game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Now, there was a point where I was going to drop Iron Fist, take Wong, and put a Power Stone, or the Time Stone on Doctor Strange, because...
I don't think it's worth it, because he already has the Eye of Agamotto.
Well, I liked it because of the idea that I had multiple chances to do something different, and the bigger thing was the power. He also has access to the Soul Stone.
I think the Soul Stone would have been the better option.
I felt like I had a lot of good control, but you're right. I could pull things to me and make a big mess.
Okay, so let's put it this way. If you had the Soul Stone, think about the amount of time superpowers that friggin' Ant-Man used around Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange would have never had less than like 10 power, right?
But honestly, like it was definitely a very interesting list, and I was very happy I ran it and dropped Deal with the Devil.
I was actually, for about 4 rounds, I was operating off you having Deal with the Devil for some reason. I read your cards. I knew what you had. I'm just an idiot, right?
That's fair.
And it's like, I kept thinking you had Deal with the Devil. And then when you tell me, it's like, no, I don't. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
so in the intro, I talked about I had plans for Bats the Ghost Hound, and I really wanted Bats to be really successful. Because I think that he can be tricky, and things like Mystic Binding and on Mark's thing, you can get like a bunch of staggers that don't happen very often.
Fair enough.
And force it to be the case. And then in the worst situation, it's spend 2 power on a card, get an extra result when you need it.
Extra point of damage, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still not feeling Bats, personally. I think Bats is too situational, almost.
So, interestingly, I took Banishment. I actually had a really good turn to use Banishment, where I would have gotten Cap, Cap, and Black Panther, and all of them would have been stunned. And it would have been a great move. And then I never had a good spot after that, after I forgot about it. So,
that's nuts, man.
And it was like, that's okay. Because it proved to me like Banishment is it can be good, but it's a narrow thing, so it's probably something that you need to be thinking about if that's a big deal for your roster. If you want to toss out those stuns.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, you never got Heroes for Hire in there.
That was unfortunately an active choice from when I deployed him. I knew he'd be on this side and he'd be mostly alone, so it was going to only have a couple of random chances to work.
Yeah, and there was never really a good opportunity to do, because nobody else was ever in threat when, like, Iron Fist was always the one in worst threat. You never wanted to take that extra hit on Iron Fist, right?
Absolutely.
So I totally get it. It was one of those cards where the opportunity never really came up on this one. For the first time in a while, I used all 5 of my cards.
Yes.
And to mostly good effect, I think. Yeah, like there was one point where I was really wishing I had Follow Me, just to shift momentum back in my favor.
Absolutely.
But yeah, all in all, like it's, it kept a couple of my tunes in the game a little bit longer between with Second Wind and Patch Up keeping
Black Panther.
Panther?
Yeah, like I kept in the early game, I kept thinking that okay, Black Panther's now down to like 2 health. I'm just going to ice him with any attack. I need to focus on these other guys. And then I look back, and Black Panther's the only one still healthy.
Yeah. Well, because Black Panther was healthy right up to Ram 5. Like Black Panther was a champ this game, and I think I've been sleeping on him a little bit.
I think he does a lot of great things, and that long movement is huge. Like he was able to put out fires wherever he was needed, and
he started over here, and he just
well he went back and forth in the middle, right?
He did a couple times,
yeah.
Because I think he managed to get over here, then he went back here, and then he went back here, and like he's just all over the place.
Yeah.
No, Black Panther was good. I'm continuing to be impressed by Steve. Steve Rogers, Captain America. I love him. I think he's great.
So the real problem is the more you play him, the more I realize he's not the other Steve, and they are very, very different models because I keep expecting things like Bodyguard and
Shield Throw
to really have a big impact, and then you're like, no, he doesn't have that power.
No, he's just violent. Yeah. He's old, he's obstinate, and he's violent.
Yeah. I love his on your left because he's fast. He likes to go places, but yeah, he's. Oh, are you gonna Bodyguard? No, I don't have Bodyguard. Oh.
Here's how I Bodyguard, by punching you.
Yeah, I punch you first. That's not a bad Bodyguard move.
And here's the thing, like Steve was like all over the map as well, right? Like he went everywhere. And I really like this Steve Rogers.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that was the big deal for your list. You were very mobile. You were very able to respond to how poorly some of your rolls went.
Very mobile, yeah. And that's somewhere where, oddly enough, I did have the advantage over you. I was able to pivot quite easily. Like I was all over the board.
I'm going to go ahead and say I think you should be wrong because I have Bump in the Night. I can be anywhere. What are you talking about? But you're right. Like I definitely was not in a situation where I could make that work.
Yeah,
so.
No, I was just super speedy. I mean, Ant-Man has deceptive amounts of speed to get across the board. Captain America, Sam Wilson is fast on his own. Black Panther is fast on his own. Steve has a lot of movement on his own. Bucky he's just relentless, man. Yeah. Bucky just walks forward shooting stuff and calls it a day.
And he did a great job.
And he did. Aside from completely whiffing against Strange, he was in the game.
Yes.
And he kept doing things. And every time I thought about it, I missed my I got your back trigger. I looked at his powers like, oh no, you can do it anyway. But yeah, it was really good. Well, I think we've said enough on the game. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this. Leave your comments below. Like, let us know what you think. What if we missed something or anything like that.
It was a really fun game for us, but we definitely do want to know what you guys would have done differently. And honestly, like I'm sure we missed some things.
We screwed up somewhere. Tell us where we screwed up. We need to know. We need to know where we screwed up. So yeah, definitely let us know, and hopefully we will see you guys around next time. Happy wargaming.